My name is Clovene Delphine Marshall. I am 67 years old. My husband, Ezekiel, is 70. We have been married for 45 years. We have 3 children, 2 sons and 1 daughter. Our daughter, Marielle, was our youngest, our baby girl, the child I prayed for after 2 difficult pregnancies, the child I almost died giving birth to, the child who was supposed to be our blessing. But sometimes, blessings turn into heartbreak. Let me tell you about the moment that shattered our world. It was a Saturday morning in April. The sun was shining. The birds were singing. I was in my kitchen making breakfast for Ezekiel. Scrambled eggs, bacon, toast with butter, his favorite meal. My phone buzzed, a notification from social media. I picked it up and looked at the screen. My heart stopped. It was a photograph, a wedding photograph, a bride in a beautiful white gown, a groom in an expensive black tuxedo, flowers everywhere, smiling guests, a gorgeous venue. The bride was my daughter. Marielle was getting married, right at that very moment, and we had not been invited. I stared at the photograph. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. The caption under the photo said, "The most beautiful day of my life. I married my soulmate surrounded by the people who truly love me." The people who truly love her. That did not include us, her own parents. I scrolled through the comments. "Congratulations, best wishes, you look stunning. So happy for you both." Dozens of comments from people I did not know, people who had been invited to my daughter's wedding while we were left in the dark. "Clovene, what is wrong?" Ezekiel was standing in the kitchen doorway. He had heard me gasp. He could see the shock on my face. I could not speak. I just handed him the phone. Ezekiel looked at the screen. I watched his face change. Confusion, disbelief, then pain, pure, unbearable pain. "She got married." His voice was barely a whisper. "Our daughter got married without telling us." I nodded. Tears were streaming down my face. Ezekiel sat down heavily in a chair. He looked like a man who had just been told his child had died. In a way, that was exactly how we both felt. Our daughter was alive, but she had killed us in her heart. "Why?" Ezekiel asked. "Why would she do this?" I did not have an answer. I did not understand. We had loved Marielle with everything we had. We had sacrificed for her. We had supported her. We had given her the best life we could. And she repaid us by getting married in secret, by excluding us from the most important day of her life, by pretending we did not exist. But here is the thing. Marielle thought she had won. She thought she could cut us out and move on with her life. She thought we would just accept it and fade away. She was wrong. Because that wedding day, the day she thought would be the happiest day of her life, it did not end how she planned. Now, before I continue, I want to ask you something. Are you with me? Are you ready to hear what happened next? If you are, I need you to do something for me right now. I need you to subscribe to this channel. Just press that subscribe button. It is free, and it tells me that you want to hear more stories like this. Also, press the like button. That little thumbs up means so much to me. It helps more people find this channel. It helps me know that you are enjoying the story. And please turn on the notification bell, that bell icon next to the subscribe button. When you turn it on, you will get a message every time I post a new story. You will never miss anything. One more thing. Drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from. Are you from Detroit, Miami, Dallas? Maybe you are watching from Toronto or London or Nairobi or somewhere else around the world. I want to know who is here with me. I want to see how big our family can grow. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. Let me tell you how we got to that terrible moment in the kitchen. Ezekiel and I grew up in the same small town in Alabama. We met when we were teenagers. He was 17. I was 15. He was the most handsome boy I had ever seen. Tall and strong with a smile that made my heart skip a beat. We fell in love fast. The kind of love that takes your breath away. The kind of love that makes you believe in forever. We got married when I was 22. Ezekiel was 24. We did not have much money. We did not have fancy clothes or a big wedding. We got married in a small church with just our families and a few friends. But we were happy, so happy. For the first few years, we struggled. Ezekiel worked at a factory during the day and as a janitor at night. I worked as a maid at a hotel. We lived in a tiny apartment with one bedroom and a kitchen so small you could barely turn around. But we had each other, and that was enough. Then the children came. Our first son, Malachi, was born when I was 25. He was a big, healthy baby with his father's eyes and my smile. We were so proud. 2 years later, our second son, Jeremiah, was born. Another healthy boy, another blessing. But after Jeremiah, I had 2 miscarriages. The doctor said my body was not strong enough for more pregnancies. He said we should stop trying. But I wanted a daughter. I wanted a little girl to dress up in pretty dresses, to braid her hair, to teach her how to cook and sew, to pass on the wisdom my mother had passed on to me. So I prayed. Every night I got on my knees and asked God for a daughter. And God answered my prayers. When I was 34 years old, I got pregnant again. The pregnancy was difficult. I was sick for months. I spent weeks on bed rest. The doctors warned me that the baby might not survive, that I might not survive. But I held on. I refused to give up. And on a cold December night, Marielle was born. She was tiny, just 5 pounds, but she was perfect. 10 fingers, 10 toes, a head full of curly black hair, and the most beautiful eyes I had ever seen. I held her in my arms and cried. Tears of joy, tears of gratitude, tears of love so deep it felt like my heart would burst. Our miracle, I whispered. Our beautiful miracle. Marielle was a special child from the very beginning. She was smart, so smart. She started talking before she was 1 year old. She was reading by the time she was 3. By the time she started school, she was miles ahead of the other children. She was also beautiful. As she grew older, she became more and more stunning. Smooth brown skin, long, thick hair, big, expressive eyes. People would stop us on the street just to tell us how gorgeous she was. But more than anything, Marielle was sweet. She was kind and loving and affectionate. She would climb into my lap and tell me I was the best mother in the world. She would bring Ezekiel flowers from the garden and tell him he was her hero. We adored her. We spoiled her. We gave her everything we could. Maybe that was our mistake. When Marielle was 16, something changed. She started pulling away from us. She stopped telling us about her life. She spent more time with her friends and less time at home. I told myself it was normal. Teenagers need space. They need to find their own identity. I told myself Marielle would come back to us when she was older. But she never did. When Marielle turned 18, she got a scholarship to a university in the city, a prestigious school, an opportunity we could never have given her ourselves. We were so proud. We drove her to campus. We helped her move into her dorm room. We hugged her goodbye and told her we loved her. Call us every week, I said, and come home for the holidays. Marielle smiled and nodded. Of course, Mama, I love you. But she did not call every week. She called once a month, then once every few months, then hardly at all. And the holidays, she always had an excuse, studying for exams, working on projects, visiting friends. We told ourselves she was busy. Young people have so much on their plates these days. We told ourselves she still loved us, even if she did not show it. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. It was during her junior year of college that Marielle brought someone home for the first time. His name was Preston Carmichael. He was tall and light-skinned with wavy hair and perfect teeth. He came from a wealthy family in Connecticut. His father was a lawyer. His mother was a doctor. They lived in a big house with a swimming pool and 3 expensive cars. Preston was polite, too polite. He smiled and shook our hands and said all the right things. But there was something in his eyes that I did not like, something cold, something superior. After dinner, Marielle pulled me aside. What do you think, Mama? Isn't he wonderful? I hesitated. I did not want to hurt her feelings. But I also could not lie. He seems nice, I said carefully, but I do not know him very well. How long have you two been together? 6 months. 6 months. And this was the first time we were hearing about him. Why did you not tell us before? Marielle shrugged. I wanted to make sure it was serious first. And it is, Mama. Preston is the one, I can feel it. I looked at my daughter. She was glowing with happiness. But there was something else in her eyes, too. Something that looked almost like defiance. Just be careful, baby, I said. Love can blind us to things we should see. Marielle's face hardened. You don't like him. I did not say that. You did not have to, I can tell. She pulled away from me. This is typical, Mama. You and Daddy never think anyone is good enough for me. That is not true. We just want you to be happy. I am happy. For the first time in my life, I am truly happy. Why can you not just be happy for me? She stormed off to her room. We did not speak again until the next morning, when she and Preston left to go back to campus. That was the beginning of the end. Over the next 2 years, Marielle drifted further and further away. She stopped coming home for holidays. She stopped calling. When I tried to reach her, she would send short text messages. Busy. Talk later. Everything is fine. But everything was not fine. Malachi and Jeremiah, our sons, tried to stay in touch with their sister, but she pushed them away too. Something is not right with Marielle, Malachi told me one day. She is different, cold, like she does not want anything to do with us. It is that man, Jeremiah said. Preston, he is turning her against us. I wanted to believe they were wrong. I wanted to believe that Marielle still loved us, that she was just going through a phase. But then came the phone call. It was 6 months before the wedding. Marielle called me out of nowhere. I was so surprised, I almost dropped the phone. Mama, I need to talk to you about something. Of course, baby. What is it? There was a long pause. Then Marielle spoke. Preston and I are getting married. My heart soared. My baby girl was getting married. Despite everything, I was happy. I imagined the wedding, the dress, the flowers, the mother-daughter dance. Oh, Marielle, that is wonderful news. When is the wedding? We need to start planning. Another pause, longer this time. Mama, there's something you need to know. What is it? Marielle took a deep breath. Preston's family is very particular. They have certain standards, certain expectations. I felt a chill run down my spine. What do you mean? They want the wedding to be a certain way. They want certain people there, people who fit. I gripped the phone tighter. Marielle, what are you trying to say? Mama, I love you and Daddy. You know I do, but Preston's family, they are not like us. They come from a different world, and they have made it clear that. She stopped. That what? I demanded. That they do not want you at the wedding. The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. They do not want us at the wedding, our own daughter's wedding. Mama, please try to understand. Preston's family is very important. They have connections. They have reputations to protect. They do not want. They do not want what, Marielle? Poor black folks at their fancy wedding. Is that it? Mama, it is not like that. Then what is it like? Explain it to me. Because from where I am standing, it sounds like you are choosing a man and his snooty family over your own parents. Marielle was crying now. Mama, please, I do not want to fight. I need you to understand. This is my chance at a better life, a life I could never have back home. Please do not ruin it for me. I was shaking. My vision was blurring with tears. Is that what we are to you, Marielle? Something to be ashamed of, something to be hidden away? Mama, that is not fair. Not fair? I will tell you what is not fair. Your father and I sacrificed everything for you. We worked ourselves to the bone so you could have opportunities we never had. And this is how you repay us, by throwing us away like garbage. Mama, stop. No, you stop. You stop and think about what you are doing. Because if you go through with this, if you get married without us, you will regret it for the rest of your life. There was silence on the other end of the line. Then Marielle spoke. Her voice was cold, hard, the voice of a stranger. I am sorry you feel that way, Mama, but my decision is made. Goodbye. She hung up. I stood there with the phone in my hand for a long time. My whole body was numb. I could not believe what had just happened. Ezekiel found me like that, standing in the kitchen, staring at nothing. "Clovene, what happened?" I told him everything, every word, every cruel, heartless word. When I finished, Ezekiel's face was a mask of pain and anger. "She said that, our daughter said that." I nodded. Ezekiel shook his head slowly. "I never thought, I never imagined." He could not finish the sentence. We sat together in silence, holding hands, trying to make sense of the senseless. For the next 6 months, we heard nothing from Marielle. We tried calling. She did not answer. We tried texting, no response. We tried emailing, nothing. It was like our daughter had vanished from the face of the earth. Then came that Saturday morning, that photograph on social media, that beautiful wedding that we were not invited to. Our hearts were broken, shattered into a million pieces. But as I said before, the day did not end how Marielle planned. Because while we were sitting in our kitchen, crying over that photograph, something was happening at the wedding. Something that would change everything. My phone rang. I almost did not answer. I did not recognize the number. But something told me to pick up. "Hello. Mrs. Marshall, this is Gideon Carmichael, Preston's younger brother." I was confused. Why was Preston's brother calling me? "I do not know if you remember me. We met once briefly when Marielle brought Preston to your home." I remembered him. He had been quiet, polite, different from the rest of the family. "I remember you, Gideon. Why are you calling?" "Mrs. Marshall, I need to tell you something. Something important. Something about the wedding." My heart started pounding. "What is it?" Gideon took a deep breath. "You need to get here, right now, because in about 2 hours, your daughter's life is going to be destroyed, and you are the only ones who can save her. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from." My heart was pounding so hard, I could feel it in my throat. "Gideon, what are you talking about? What is going to happen to Marielle?" Gideon's voice was urgent, scared. "I cannot explain everything over the phone. There is not enough time. But you need to trust me, Mrs. Marshall. Your daughter is in danger, not physical danger, but the kind of danger that will destroy her life." "What kind of danger?" "The Carmichaels are not who they pretend to be. My family has been lying to Marielle since the day they met her. And tonight, at the reception, they are planning to reveal the truth in the most humiliating way possible." I felt dizzy. I gripped the edge of the kitchen counter to steady myself. Why would they do that? She just married their son. Why would they want to humiliate her? Gideon was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy with shame. "Because that was always the plan. From the very beginning. Marielle was never meant to be part of our family. She was meant to be destroyed by it." I could not breathe. I could not think. This was too much, too horrible. "Mrs. Marshall, please. I know Marielle hurt you. I know she pushed you away. But she is still your daughter. And right now, she needs you more than ever, even if she does not know it." I looked at Ezekiel. He had heard everything. His face was a mixture of confusion, anger, and fear. "Where is the wedding?" I asked. "The Grandview Estate, about 45 minutes from your location. The reception starts in 2 hours. If you leave now, you can make it." "We will be there." "Thank you, Mrs. Marshall, and please, do not tell anyone I called you. My family would destroy me if they found out." "I understand." Gideon hung up. I stood there, holding the phone, trying to process everything I had just heard. Ezekiel was already on his feet. "Get your coat, Clovene. We are going to that wedding." "But Ezekiel, we were not invited. They made it very clear they did not want us there." Ezekiel looked at me with fire in his eyes. "I do not care what they want. That is our daughter, our baby girl. And if someone is planning to hurt her, we are going to stop it." I nodded slowly. He was right. No matter what Marielle had done, no matter how much she had hurt us, she was still our child. We could not abandon her. I grabbed my coat and my purse. Ezekiel grabbed his keys. We were out the door in less than 5 minutes. The drive to the Grandview estate was the longest 45 minutes of my life. My mind was racing. What did Gideon mean when he said Marielle was meant to be destroyed? What lies had the Carmichaels been telling? What were they planning to do at the reception? I did not have answers, only questions, and fear, so much fear. Ezekiel drove in silence. His jaw was tight. His hands gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles were turning gray. "What do you think is going on?" I finally asked. Ezekiel shook his head. "I do not know, but I have never trusted those Carmichaels. From the first moment I met Preston, I knew something was not right, the way he looked at us, like we were dirt beneath his shoes." "I felt it too," I admitted. But I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself Marielle was happy. She thought she was happy, but happiness built on lies always crumbles. I stared out the window at the passing scenery. Trees, fields, houses, normal life going on while our world was falling apart. "Do you think she will even talk to us?" I asked. She made it very clear she did not want us there. "I do not care if she talks to us or not. We are her parents. We have a right to be there, and if the Carmichaels try to stop us, they will have to deal with me." I reached over and squeezed his hand. "We are in this together, Ezekiel, no matter what happens." He squeezed back. "Always, Clovene, always." The Grandview estate was even more impressive than I had imagined. It sat on a hill overlooking a beautiful valley. The main building was an old mansion, white with tall columns and huge windows. Gardens stretched out in every direction, filled with flowers and fountains and perfectly trimmed hedges. Expensive cars were parked along the winding driveway. Mercedes, BMWs, Rolls-Royces, the kind of cars that cost more than we made in 5 years. "We do not belong here," I whispered. "We belong wherever our daughter is," Ezekiel said firmly. "Now come on." We parked our old Honda at the end of the driveway, behind a row of luxury vehicles. We got out and walked toward the mansion. The reception was being held in a huge tent behind the main building. We could hear music and laughter drifting toward us, the sound of people having a wonderful time. People who had been invited, unlike us. As we approached the tent, a man in a black suit stepped in front of us. "Excuse me, do you have an invitation?" I opened my mouth to speak, but Ezekiel beat me to it. "We are the bride's parents." The man frowned. He looked down at a clipboard in his hands. "I am sorry, but I do not see your names on the guest list." "Of course you do not see our names," Ezekiel said. "We were deliberately excluded, but we are going in there anyway." The man held up his hand. "Sir, I cannot let you in without an invitation. This is a private event." I could see Ezekiel's temper rising. His hands were clenched into fists. "Listen here, young man. That is my daughter in there. My daughter. I do not need an invitation to see my own child." "Sir, please calm down." "Do not tell me to calm down." The commotion was attracting attention. Guests were turning to look. Whispers were spreading. Then I heard a voice I recognized. "What is going on here?" I turned and saw a woman walking toward us. She was tall and elegant, wearing a pale pink dress and diamonds around her neck. Her silver hair was perfectly styled. Her face was cold and hard. It was Vivienne Carmichael, Preston's mother. She looked at us with disgust, like we were insects that had crawled into her perfect party. "Who let these people in?" "They claim to be the bride's parents," the security guard said. Vivienne's lip curled. "I know exactly who they are, and they were not invited for a reason." She stepped closer to us, lowering her voice so only we could hear. "You are not welcome here. This is a Carmichael event, and Carmichaels do not associate with your kind." I felt my blood boiling. Our kind, what is that supposed to mean? Vivienne smiled. It was a cruel, ugly smile. "It means exactly what you think it means, Mrs. Marshall. Now leave before I have security escort you out. I would hate for there to be a scene." Ezekiel stepped forward. "We are not going anywhere until we see our daughter." "Your daughter made her choice. She chose us over you. Accept it and move on." She is being manipulated. We know about your plan, Vivienne. We know what you are going to do to her. For just a second, I saw something flicker in Vivienne's eyes. Surprise, fear. It was gone before I could identify it. I have no idea what you are talking about, she said smoothly. Now please leave. You are embarrassing yourselves. She turned and walked back toward the tent. The security guard stepped forward. I am going to have to ask you to leave. I looked at Ezekiel. He looked at me. We both knew we could not fight our way in. Not like this. But I was not ready to give up. Wait, I said. Just wait one moment. I pulled out my phone and dialed a number. The number Gideon had called me from. He answered on the second ring. Mrs. Marshall, are you here? We are outside the tent. Security will not let us in. Your mother just threatened to have us thrown out. Hold on, I will come get you. The line went dead. 2 minutes later, a young man emerged from the tent. He was in his mid-20s, tall and slim, with the same light skin and wavy hair as Preston. But his eyes were different, softer, kinder. Gideon. They are with me, he told the security guard. Let them through. The guard hesitated, but Mrs. Carmichael said, I do not care what my mother said. These are the bride's parents. They have a right to be here. The guard looked uncertain, but he stepped aside. Gideon led us into the tent. The reception was in full swing. Hundreds of guests sat at round tables covered with white cloths and crystal centerpieces. A live band was playing jazz music. Waiters in black and white uniforms moved through the crowd, carrying trays of champagne and fancy appetizers. At the far end of the tent, at the head table, I saw her. Marielle. My daughter. She was wearing a beautiful white gown that sparkled in the light. Her hair was swept up in an elegant style. She looked like a princess. But even from across the room, I could see that something was wrong. Her smile seemed forced. Her eyes were tired. She looked like a woman playing a role, not a woman experiencing the happiest day of her life. Preston sat beside her. He was laughing and talking with his groomsmen, barely paying attention to his new wife. Come with me, Gideon whispered. We need to talk somewhere private. He led us to a small room at the back of the tent. It was a storage area filled with boxes and extra chairs. He closed the door behind us. Thank you for coming, he said. I know this must be confusing. Confusing does not begin to describe it, I said. Gideon, what is going on? What are your parents planning? Gideon took a deep breath. He looked nervous, scared. My family is not what they appear to be, he began. On the surface, we look like a perfect, wealthy family, old money, good breeding, impeccable reputation. But underneath, we are rotten to the core. He paused, gathering his thoughts. My parents have been running a scheme for decades. They call it social climbing elimination. They target young, ambitious people from less privileged backgrounds, people who are trying to move up in the world, people who think they can marry into wealth and change their lives. I felt sick. What do they do to these people? They lure them in. They make them believe they are accepted. They encourage them to cut ties with their families, to burn bridges with everyone who loved them before. And then, when the person is completely isolated, completely dependent on the Carmichaels. He stopped. His hands were shaking. What, Gideon? What do they do? They destroy them. Publicly, brutally, they expose secrets. They fabricate scandals. They ruin reputations. The victim is left with nothing. No family, no friends, no money, no future. I grabbed Ezekiel's arm to steady myself. Why? I whispered. Why would anyone do such a thing? Because my parents are sick. They enjoy it. They enjoy watching people suffer. They enjoy proving that people like Marielle can never truly belong in their world. He looked at me with anguished eyes. Mrs. Marshall, Marielle is their latest target, and tonight, at this reception, they are going to destroy her. My mind was spinning. I could not comprehend such cruelty, such evil. What are they planning to do? Ezekiel demanded. In about an hour, my father is going to give a toast. During that toast, he is going to reveal something that will humiliate Marielle in front of everyone. What is he going to reveal? Gideon hesitated. He hired private investigators to dig into Marielle's past. They found something Marielle has kept hidden for years. My heart stopped. What did they find? When Marielle was in college, before she met Preston, she was struggling financially. She could not afford tuition. She could not afford food. She was desperate. He lowered his eyes. She worked as an escort, Mrs. Marshall, for about 8 months. She never told anyone. She thought it was buried in her past. But my family's investigators found records, photographs, testimonies from clients. I felt like the ground had opened up beneath my feet. My daughter, my baby girl, an escort. I thought about those years when Marielle was in college, how she had stopped calling, how she had become distant and secretive. I had blamed Preston. But now I realized the distance had started before Preston. Something had happened to my daughter, something she had been too ashamed to tell us. Why did she not tell us? I whispered. We would have helped her, we would have found a way. I do not know, Mrs. Marshall, but what I do know is that my family is going to use this information to destroy her. They are going to show photographs. They are going to read testimonies, in front of 300 guests, in front of everyone she knows. And Preston, Ezekiel asked, does he know about this? Gideon laughed bitterly. Preston knows everything. He has known from the beginning. He is part of the plan. He always was. He never loved her, I said. It was not a question. No, he never loved her. Marielle was just another victim to him, another trophy, another person to destroy. I felt rage building inside me, rage like I had never felt before. We have to stop this, I said. We have to stop them. That is why I called you, Gideon said. I know I am betraying my family. I know they will never forgive me. But I cannot stand by and watch another innocent person be destroyed. I cannot be part of this anymore. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a flash drive. This contains all the evidence my family has gathered against Marielle, the photographs, the testimonies, the investigation reports, everything. He handed it to me. I am giving this to you. What you do with it is up to you. I took the flash drive. It was small and light, but it felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. There is something else, Gideon said. Something you need to know about my family. What? He looked at us with haunted eyes. My parents have done this before, many times, and some of the victims, they could not handle the shame, the humiliation. 3 of them took their own lives. I gasped. Your parents drove people to suicide. Yes, and they covered it up every time. Money, influence. They made the deaths look like accidents. No one ever suspected the truth. He gripped my hands. Mrs. Marshall, if you do not stop them tonight, Marielle could be next. She is already fragile. She has already pushed away everyone who loves her. If they humiliate her like they are planning to, she will have nothing left, nothing to live for. Tears were streaming down my face. We will stop them, I said. I do not know how, but we will stop them. You have about 45 minutes before my father gives the toast. Whatever you are going to do, you need to do it fast. He opened the door. I have to go back before they notice I am missing. Good luck, Mrs. Marshall. Your daughter is counting on you, even if she does not know it. He slipped out of the room and disappeared into the crowd. Ezekiel and I stood in that small storage room, looking at each other. What do we do? I asked. How do we stop this? Ezekiel's jaw was tight. His eyes were burning. We fight back, he said. We use their own weapons against them. He pointed at the flash drive in my hand. That drive has all their evidence against Marielle, but Gideon said they have done this before, multiple times, which means there must be other victims out there, other people who have been destroyed by the Carmichaels. What are you thinking? I am thinking that we need to make a phone call to someone who can help us expose the Carmichaels for what they really are. Who? Ezekiel pulled out his phone. Do you remember my cousin Deacon, the one who works at the TV station? The investigative reporter. That is the one. He has been looking for a big story for years, something that could make his career. I think we just found it. He dialed a number. Deacon, it is Ezekiel. I need a favor, a big one, and I need it right now. 20 minutes later, Deacon Marshall arrived at the Grandview estate. He was a tall, imposing man in his 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. He had brought a cameraman with him and a van full of equipment. We met them at the back of the tent. You were not kidding, Deacon said after we explained everything. This is the biggest story I have ever heard. The Carmichaels are one of the most powerful families in the state. If we can expose them, it will be national news. Can you do it? I asked. Can you stop them from humiliating our daughter? Deacon smiled grimly. Oh, I can do more than stop them. I can destroy them. But I am going to need a few minutes to set up. Can you stall them? How? Deacon thought for a moment. The toast is the key moment. That is when they are planning to reveal everything. If you can delay the toast, even by 10 or 15 minutes, I can be ready to broadcast live. Broadcast live? From here? Yes, I have connections at the station. I can break into the evening news with a special report. The whole city will be watching when the Carmichaels are exposed. I looked at Ezekiel. He nodded. We will stall them, I said, whatever it takes. Deacon gripped my shoulder. Be careful, Aunt Clovene. These people are dangerous, if they realize what you are doing. I know, but that is my daughter in there, and I am not going to let anyone hurt her, not anymore. We walked back into the tent, just as the band finished their song. A man was walking toward the microphone at the front of the room. He was tall and distinguished, with silver hair and a charming smile. Hamilton Carmichael, Preston's father, the man who was about to destroy my daughter's life. Ladies and gentlemen, he said into the microphone, if I could have your attention, please. The room fell silent. I would like to propose a toast to the happy couple. This was it, the moment of truth. I looked at Ezekiel, he looked at me. And then I did something I never thought I would do. I walked straight up to the microphone and took it from Hamilton Carmichael's hand. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. The room went silent. 300 pairs of eyes were staring at me. The poor, uninvited mother who had just snatched the microphone from one of the most powerful men in the state. Hamilton Carmichael's face turned red with anger. His charming smile vanished, replaced by a cold, hard glare. Who do you think you are? He hissed under his breath. Give me back that microphone. I held it tighter. No. Vivienne Carmichael was on her feet, rushing toward us. Security guards were moving through the crowd. I could see the panic in their eyes. The Carmichaels were not used to losing control. But I did not care. I had come too far to back down now. I looked across the room at Marielle. She was sitting at the head table, frozen in shock. Her face was pale. Her eyes were wide. She looked like she had seen a ghost. Marielle, I said into the microphone. My voice echoed through the tent. I know you did not want me here. I know you pushed me and your father away. I know you thought we did not belong in your new life. Marielle shook her head slowly. Tears were forming in her eyes. But I am your mother, I continued. I carried you for 9 months. I almost died giving birth to you. I raised you. I loved you. And nothing you do, nothing anyone does will ever change that. The room was completely silent. Even the security guards had stopped moving. Everyone was listening. I know what the Carmichaels are planning tonight, I said. I know they are going to try to humiliate you, to destroy you, to take away everything you have. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Guests were whispering to each other. The Carmichaels were frozen in place. But I am not going to let that happen. Your father and I are not going to let that happen, because that is what parents do. We protect our children, even when those children push us away, even when those children hurt us, even when those children forget that we exist. I looked directly at Hamilton and Vivienne Carmichael. You thought you could destroy our daughter. You thought you could isolate her from everyone who loves her and then tear her apart. But you made one mistake. I paused. You underestimated a mother's love. Vivienne stepped forward. Her face was twisted with rage. This woman is insane, she announced to the crowd. She was not invited because she is mentally unstable. Security, remove her immediately. Two large men in black suits started moving toward me. But before they could reach me, Ezekiel stepped in front of them. Touch my wife and you will regret it, he said calmly. The security guards hesitated. Ezekiel was not a young man, but he was still strong, still imposing. And there was something in his eyes that made even trained professionals think twice. This is ridiculous, Hamilton Carmichael said. He grabbed for the microphone, but I pulled it away. Is it, Hamilton? Is it ridiculous that we want to protect our daughter from the same fate as your other victims? Hamilton's face went white. What are you talking about? I am talking about the young woman from Charleston, the one who jumped off a bridge after you destroyed her reputation at her engagement party. More gasps from the crowd. I am talking about the young man from Baltimore, the one who overdosed on pills after your family ruined his career and his marriage. I am talking about all the innocent people you have targeted over the years, all the lives you have destroyed, all the families you have torn apart. The room was in chaos. Guests were standing up from their tables. Some were leaving. Others were pulling out their phones to record what was happening. Hamilton Carmichael looked like a cornered animal. His eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape. You have no proof, he said. This is slander. I will sue you for every penny you have. Proof, I laughed bitterly. You want proof. I pulled out the flash drive Gideon had given me. This drive contains everything. The private investigators you hired, the evidence you gathered, the plans you made, every detail of every victim you have ever targeted. I held it up for everyone to see. Your own son gave this to me. Gideon could not stand by and watch you destroy another innocent person. He could not be part of your sick games anymore. Hamilton spun around to look at Gideon, who was standing near the back of the tent. Gideon's face was pale, but his jaw was set. He did not look away from his father's furious glare. You traitor, Hamilton snarled. After everything we have done for you. Everything you have done for me? Gideon stepped forward. You have done nothing for me except teach me how to hurt people, how to destroy lives, how to be a monster. He looked at his mother, then at Preston. I am done. I am done being part of this family. I am done being complicit in your crimes. Vivienne's face crumpled. Gideon, you do not know what you are doing. You are throwing away your inheritance, your future. I would rather have no future than have one built on the suffering of others. The tent was in complete pandemonium now. Guests were arguing. Some were trying to leave. Others were demanding explanations. The Carmichaels' carefully orchestrated event was falling apart. And through it all, Marielle sat at the head table, staring at me with tears streaming down her face. I looked at my watch. 10 minutes had passed since I took the microphone. Deacon should be almost ready. But I needed more time. I needed to keep the Carmichaels distracted until he could broadcast. Hamilton, I said into the microphone, why do you not tell everyone what you were planning to reveal tonight? Go ahead. Tell them about the evidence your investigators gathered on Marielle. Hamilton's face went from white to red to purple. This is absurd. I was not going to reveal anything. I was simply going to give a toast to my son and his new bride. Is that so? Then why do you have a presentation loaded on that laptop over there? I pointed to a table near the stage, where a laptop was connected to a large screen. Why do you have photographs ready to display? Testimonies ready to read? A whole production designed to humiliate my daughter in front of everyone she knows. Hamilton sputtered. That is not. Open the laptop, I said. If you have nothing to hide, open it and show everyone what is on the screen. The crowd started chanting. Open it, open it, open it. Hamilton looked around desperately. He was trapped. If he opened the laptop, everyone would see his plans. If he did not, everyone would assume the worst. Vivienne grabbed his arm. Do not do it, she hissed. We need to leave now. But it was too late. A young man from the crowd walked up to the table and opened the laptop. The screen lit up, displaying a presentation titled, "The Truth About Marshall." The first slide showed photographs, intimate photographs, the kind of photographs that could destroy a person's reputation. Screams erupted from the crowd. People were covering their children's eyes. Others were shouting in outrage. "Turn it off," Vivienne screamed. "Turn it off." But no one listened. The crowd was too shocked, too horrified. I looked at Marielle. She had buried her face in her hands. Her shoulders were shaking with sobs. I wanted to run to her, to hold her, to tell her everything would be okay. But I could not yet. I had to finish what I started. I walked over to the laptop and closed it. "Now you see," I said into the microphone. "Now you see what the Carmichaels were planning. Now you see the kind of people they really are." I turned to face Hamilton and Vivienne. "You wanted to destroy my daughter. You wanted to expose her secrets, to humiliate her, to break her." I stepped closer to them. "But you forgot something important. You forgot that everyone has secrets. Everyone has things they want to hide, even you." Hamilton's eyes narrowed. "What are you talking about?" I smiled. "Did you really think Gideon only gave me information about Marielle? Did you really think that flash drive only contained your plans for tonight?" Hamilton's face went pale again. "That drive contains everything, Hamilton. Every crime your family has ever committed. Every life you have destroyed. Every death you have caused." I held up the flash drive. "And in about 2 minutes, that information is going to be broadcast to the entire city." Right on cue, the lights in the tent flickered. A large screen at the front of the tent came to life. Instead of the Carmichael's presentation, it showed something different. A news studio. And sitting at the anchor desk was Deacon Marshall. "Good evening," Deacon said. "We interrupt your regular programming for a breaking news exclusive. For decades, one of our state's most prominent families has been hiding a dark secret. Tonight, we expose the truth about the Carmichael dynasty." The screen cut to footage, photographs, documents, testimonies from former victims, stories of destroyed lives, stories of suspicious deaths, stories of corruption, manipulation, and cruelty. The guests in the tent watched in stunned silence as the Carmichaels' empire crumbled before their eyes. Hamilton and Vivienne were frozen in place. Their faces showed pure terror. Everything they had built, everything they had worked for, was being destroyed in real time. Preston stood up from the head table. His charming facade was gone. He looked panicked, desperate. "This is lies," he shouted. "All lies. My family has done nothing wrong." But no one was listening to him. Everyone was watching the screen. Everyone was learning the truth. "The Carmichael family has targeted at least 15 individuals over the past 20 years, Deacon continued on the broadcast. "Of those 15, 3 died by suicide. Police are now reopening investigations into those deaths." More footage appeared. Interviews with family members of the victims, tearful parents, grieving siblings, people whose lives had been destroyed by the Carmichaels' cruelty. "We have obtained documents proving that Hamilton Carmichael personally ordered investigations into his victims' pasts. He hired private investigators to dig up embarrassing information. He used that information to publicly humiliate his victims at carefully orchestrated events." The screen showed copies of contracts, payment records, instructions from Hamilton to his investigators. Mrs. Carmichael, Vivienne Carmichael, was equally involved. She personally selected victims and helped plan the public humiliations. She also used her connections to cover up the suicides that resulted from their actions. Vivienne collapsed into a chair. Her face was ashen. Her hands were trembling. Preston Carmichael, their eldest son, was groomed from a young age to participate in the family's schemes. He seduced victims, gained their trust, and helped isolate them from their support systems. Preston was backing toward the exit, but security guards, the same ones who had tried to remove me earlier, were now blocking his path. They had seen the broadcast. They knew what kind of family they had been working for. Tonight, the Carmichaels attempted to target a new victim, Marielle Marshall, a young woman they lured into marriage under false pretenses. But thanks to the courage of one family member who chose to speak out, their plans were exposed. The screen showed a photograph of Gideon. Gideon Carmichael, the youngest son, provided key evidence that made this investigation possible. He is currently cooperating with authorities. Gideon stood tall. His family was glaring at him with pure hatred, but he did not flinch. Police are on their way to the Grandview estate, Deacon announced. Arrests are expected within the hour. The broadcast ended. The screen went dark. And then chaos erupted. Guests were rushing for the exits. Reporters who had been invited to cover the society wedding were now scrambling to file stories about the scandal. Camera phones were flashing everywhere. Hamilton Carmichael tried to make a run for it, but two police officers who had arrived during the broadcast intercepted him at the door. Hamilton Carmichael, you are under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, and involuntary manslaughter. This is outrageous, Hamilton shouted as they handcuffed him. I demand to speak to my lawyer. You can speak to your lawyer at the station. Vivienne was arrested next. She went quietly, her face blank with shock. The queen of society brought down in front of her own guests. Preston tried to slip out a back entrance, but more police were waiting for him. Preston Carmichael, you are under arrest. You cannot do this to me. Do you know who I am? Yes, sir. We know exactly who you are. That is why you are being arrested. Within 20 minutes, all three Carmichaels were in police custody. The tent was nearly empty now. Most of the guests had fled, not wanting to be associated with the scandal. Only a few people remained. Our family. Gideon. And Marielle. I walked toward the head table where my daughter still sat, her face buried in her hands. Marielle. She did not look up. Marielle, baby, look at me. Slowly, she raised her head. Her beautiful makeup was ruined by tears. Her eyes were red and swollen. She looked broken. Mama, she whispered, I am so sorry. I sat down beside her and pulled her into my arms. SHH, it is okay, baby, it is okay. It is not okay, she was sobbing now. I pushed you away, I said terrible things, I chose them over you, and you still came, you still saved me. Of course I did. You are my daughter, I will always come for you. Ezekiel joined us. He put his arms around both of us. We are a family, he said. Nothing can ever change that, not distance, not time, not cruel words, nothing. Marielle cried harder. I was so stupid. I thought they loved me. I thought I was finally part of something special. But they were using me the whole time. They never cared about me at all. They were predators, I said. They targeted you because you were vulnerable, because you were trying to build a better life for yourself. That is not your fault. Marielle shook her head. But the things they found out about me, the things I did in college, everyone knows now. Everyone saw those pictures. I pulled back and looked her in the eyes. Listen to me, Marielle. What you did in college, you did to survive. You were young and desperate and alone. You should have come to us for help, but you were too proud, too ashamed. I understand that. I wiped the tears from her cheeks. But those pictures, those testimonies, they do not define you. Your past does not define you. What defines you is how you move forward from here. Ezekiel nodded. Your mother is right. We all make mistakes. We all have things we are ashamed of, but we do not have to let those things destroy us. Marielle looked at us with wonder in her eyes. You are not disgusted. You are not ashamed of me. Ashamed? I shook my head. Baby, I am proud of you. You survived. You pulled yourself out of a terrible situation. You built a life for yourself. That takes strength. That takes courage. But I made so many bad choices. I trusted the wrong people. I pushed away the right ones. And now you know better. Now you can make different choices. Better choices. I held her face in my hands. Come home, Marielle. Come home with us. Let us help you heal. Let us be a family again. Marielle broke down completely. She collapsed into my arms and cried like she had not cried since she was a little girl. I want to come home, Mama. I want to come home so badly. Then come, right now, tonight. Leave all this behind and start over. She nodded. Okay, Mama, I will come home. Gideon approached us hesitantly. Mrs. Marshall, Mr. Marshall, I just wanted to say, I am sorry for everything my family did, for everything I was part of. Ezekiel extended his hand. You made the right choice in the end, son. That takes courage. Gideon shook his hand gratefully. What will you do now? I asked. Your family is not my family anymore. Gideon's voice was sad but firm. I have known for years that what we were doing was wrong, but I was too scared to stand up, too scared of losing everything. He looked at Marielle. But when I saw what they were planning to do to her, I could not stay silent anymore. She did not deserve that. No one deserves that. Marielle reached out and touched his arm. Thank you, Gideon. You saved my life tonight, literally. Gideon nodded. I hope you find the happiness you deserve, Marielle, with people who truly love you. He looked at me and Ezekiel. Take care of her. She has been through enough. We will, I promised. And Gideon, if you ever need anything, you know where to find us. He smiled sadly. Thank you, Mrs. Marshall. That means more than you know. He turned and walked away into the night. We left the Grandview estate together. Me, Ezekiel, and Marielle. The once beautiful venue was now a crime scene. Police cars were everywhere. Investigators were taking photographs. Reporters were filming their segments for the late-night news. The Carmichael dynasty had fallen, and it had fallen hard. As we walked to our old Honda, Marielle looked back at the mansion one last time. I thought that was going to be my new life, she said quietly. I thought I was going to be one of them. Thank God you never were, Ezekiel said. Thank God, Marielle agreed. She climbed into the back seat of the car. I sat beside her, holding her hand. Ezekiel started the engine. Let us go home, he said. And we drove away from the nightmare, toward a new beginning. But as we drove, my phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. I looked at the screen. This is not over. You destroyed our family. Now we will destroy yours. Watch your backs. I felt a chill run down my spine. The message was not signed, but I knew who it was from. The Carmichaels had more allies than we knew, and they wanted revenge. Before I continue this story, kindly subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I stared at that text message for a long time. This is not over. You destroyed our family. Now we will destroy yours. Watch your backs. My hands were trembling. The joy I had felt just moments ago was replaced by cold, creeping fear. Mama, what is wrong? Marielle was looking at me with concern. She had seen the color drain from my face. I did not want to scare her. She had been through so much already, but I could not lie to her either. We were done with lies, done with secrets. Someone sent me a threatening message, I said quietly. They said we destroyed their family. They said they are going to destroy ours. Ezekiel glanced at me in the rearview mirror. His jaw tightened. Let me see it. I handed him the phone at the next red light. He read the message, his face growing darker with each word. The Carmichaels, he said. Even from jail, they're trying to hurt us. Maybe it is not from jail, Marielle said. Her voice was shaking. The Carmichaels have a huge family, aunts, uncles, cousins, business partners, people who depended on their money and their power. She wrapped her arms around herself. They are not going to let this go, Mama. They are going to come after us. I reached over and took her hand. Let them come. We faced them once and we won. We will face them again if we have to. But how? We are just ordinary people. We do not have money or power or connections. We have something better, Ezekiel said. We have each other, we have the truth, and we have people who will stand with us. He pulled out his own phone and dialed a number. Deacon, it is Ezekiel. We just received a threatening message. Someone connected to the Carmichaels. We need your help. I could hear Deacon's voice on the other end, but I could not make out the words. Yes, we are heading home now. Can you meet us there? And bring your security contacts. I have a feeling we are going to need them. He hung up and looked at us in the mirror. Deacon is on his way. He says he knows people who can help protect us. Former law enforcement, private security, people who are not afraid of wealthy criminals. Marielle let out a shaky breath. I am so sorry. This is all my fault. If I had not gotten involved with the Carmichaels, none of this would be happening. Stop that, I said firmly. You were a victim, Marielle. You did not know what they were planning. You did not know what kind of people they really were. But I should have listened to you. You tried to warn me about Preston. You told me something was not right, and I pushed you away. I called you jealous. I said terrible things. Tears were streaming down her face. I am so sorry, Mama. I am so sorry. I pulled her into my arms. I know, baby, I know, but we are together now. That is all that matters. We held each other as Ezekiel drove through the night, heading home. When we arrived at our house, Deacon was already waiting in the driveway. He was not alone. 2 large men in dark suits stood beside him. They looked like the kind of men you did not want to meet in a dark alley. This is Marcus and Jerome, Deacon said as we got out of the car. They are former FBI agents. They specialize in protection details for high-profile cases. Marcus, the taller of the two, nodded at us. Mr. and Mrs. Marshall, we have been briefed on the situation. The Carmichaels have connections throughout the state. Judges, politicians, business leaders. Some of them might try to retaliate on their behalf. What do we do? I asked. For tonight, we stay here and secure the property. Tomorrow, we start a more comprehensive security plan. Cameras, alarms, check-ins, the works. Jerome, the other agent, held up a tablet. We have already started monitoring social media and communication channels associated with known Carmichael allies. If anyone is planning something, we will know about it. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. We were not alone. We had people who could help us. Thank you, I said. Thank you for coming so quickly. Thank your cousin, Marcus said, nodding at Deacon. He called in a lot of favors to make this happen. Deacon shrugged. Family takes care of family. That is how we do things. We went inside and settled in for a long night. Marielle was exhausted. The emotional toll of the day had drained her completely. I led her to her old bedroom, the room she had slept in as a teenager. It was exactly as she had left it. Pink walls, posters of her favorite singers, photographs of friends from high school. It is like stepping back in time, Marielle whispered. I never changed it. I always hoped you would come back. She turned and looked at me with tears in her eyes. You never gave up on me, even when I gave up on myself. A mother never gives up on her child, never. I helped her change out of her ruined wedding dress and into comfortable pajamas. I tucked her into bed like I used to when she was little. Get some sleep, baby. Tomorrow is a new day. Will you stay with me, just until I fall asleep? Of course. I sat on the edge of the bed, stroking her hair. Within minutes, she was asleep. Exhaustion had finally claimed her. I sat there for a long time, watching my daughter sleep. My baby girl, the child I had prayed for, the child I had almost lost to those monsters. But she was home now. She was safe, and I would do whatever it took to keep her that way. The next few weeks were difficult. The Carmichael scandal dominated the news. Every day there were new revelations, new victims coming forward, new evidence of their crimes. Hamilton Carmichael was charged with multiple counts of conspiracy, fraud, and involuntary manslaughter. The prosecutors argued that his actions had directly contributed to the suicides of 3 young people. He faced life in prison. Vivienne Carmichael was charged as an accomplice. She had been involved in planning and executing the attacks on the victims. She faced 20 years. Preston Carmichael was charged with fraud, conspiracy, and emotional abuse. His role in seducing and isolating victims was thoroughly documented. He faced 15 years. Gideon Carmichael was granted immunity in exchange for his testimony. He had provided crucial evidence that helped build the case against his family. Without him, the prosecutors said, none of this would have been possible. But even with the main Carmichaels behind bars, the threats continued. The text messages came almost daily. Different numbers, different words, but always the same message. We are watching you. You cannot hide forever. Your family will pay. Marcus and Jerome traced some of the messages to known Carmichael associates, business partners who had lost millions when the family's assets were frozen, relatives who blamed us for their family's downfall, even former employees who had been paid to carry out the Carmichaels' dirty work. These people are serious, Jerome told us one evening. They have resources, they have connections, and they have nothing left to lose. What do? Ezekiel asked. We stay vigilant, we document everything, and we wait for them to make a mistake. A mistake? Criminals always make mistakes eventually. When they do, we will be ready. The mistake came sooner than we expected. 3 weeks after the wedding, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something told me to pick up. Hello. Mrs. Marshall, this is Detective Roberta Sinclair from the State Police. I am calling about the Carmichael case. Yes, Detective. How can I help you? We have received information about a potential threat to your family. A credible threat. I need to meet with you as soon as possible. My heart started racing. What kind of threat? I cannot discuss it over the phone. Can you come to the station this afternoon? Yes, of course. Good, ask for me at the front desk. And Mrs. Marshall, bring your husband and daughter. They need to hear this too. She hung up. I stood there holding the phone, my mind racing. A credible threat. What did that mean? How serious was it? Ezekiel and Marielle were in the living room. I told them about the call. We should go, Ezekiel said immediately. Whatever this is, we need to know about it. Marielle nodded, though her face was pale with fear. I will ask Marcus to drive us, she said, just in case. We arrived at the police station an hour later. Detective Sinclair was waiting for us. She was a tall woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She led us to a conference room and closed the door. Thank you for coming so quickly, she said. I know this is difficult, but what I am about to tell you is important. She opened a folder on the table. 2 days ago, we arrested a man named Cornelius Ashworth. He is a private investigator who has worked for the Carmichael family for over 15 years. I recognized the name. He was one of the people mentioned in the documents Gideon had given us. Ashworth was caught attempting to break into your home, Detective Sinclair continued. He had surveillance equipment, lock-picking tools, and a firearm. I gasped. Marielle grabbed my hand. When we interrogated him, he confessed that he had been hired to gather information on your family. Information that could be used to discredit you, to undermine your testimony in the Carmichael trial. Who hired him? Ezekiel demanded. He claims it was Vivienne Carmichael. She apparently has access to hidden accounts that were not frozen during the investigation. She has been using that money to hire people like Ashworth to continue the family's work from behind bars. I felt sick. Even in jail, Vivienne was still pulling strings, still trying to hurt us. There is more, Detective Sinclair said. Her voice was grave. During the search of Ashworth's vehicle, we found documents outlining a plan to kidnap your daughter, Marielle. Marielle let out a strangled cry. Kidnap me? Why? Leverage. They plan to use you as a bargaining chip, to force your parents to recant their testimony, to discredit Gideon, to create enough doubt that the case against the Carmichaels would collapse. Ezekiel was on his feet. Where is Ashworth now? In custody. He is not going anywhere, but we believe he was not working alone. There may be others out there with similar instructions. She looked at each of us. I am assigning a protection detail to your family, round-the-clock surveillance, officers stationed at your home, escorts whenever you leave the house. For how long? I asked. Until the trial is over. Until we are certain the threat has been neutralized. She closed the folder. I know this is frightening, but you need to understand something. What you did, exposing the Carmichaels, was incredibly brave. You saved lives. You prevented future victims. And because of you, a dangerous criminal enterprise is being dismantled. She reached across the table and touched my hand. Do not let them intimidate you. Do not let them win. We will protect you, and we will make sure justice is served. The next few months were a blur of security protocols, court appearances, and sleepless nights. The trial of the Carmichaels began in September. It was the biggest trial the state had seen in decades. Media from all over the country descended on the courthouse. Every day brought new revelations, new testimonies, new evidence of the family's crimes. I testified on the 5th day. I told the jury everything. About the phone call from Gideon, about rushing to the wedding, about confronting the Carmichaels, about the threatening messages and the kidnapping plot. When the prosecutor asked me why I had risked so much to save a daughter who had pushed me away, I gave the only answer I could. Because she is my daughter. Because no matter what she did, no matter how much she hurt me, she is still my child. And a mother protects her children, always. The courtroom was silent. I saw several jurors wiping their eyes. Ezekiel testified the next day, then Marielle, then Gideon. Gideon's testimony was the most damaging. He had been inside the Carmichael operation for years. He knew every detail, every scheme, every victim. He testified for 3 days straight, laying out the full scope of his family's crimes. By the time he was finished, there was no doubt about the Carmichaels' guilt. The defense tried everything. They attacked Gideon's credibility. They claimed we were motivated by jealousy. They argued that the Carmichaels were victims of a conspiracy. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Hamilton Carmichael was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Vivienne Carmichael was sentenced to 30 years. Preston Carmichael was sentenced to 20 years. When the verdicts were read, I broke down in tears. Ezekiel held me tight. Marielle sobbed with relief. It was over. The nightmare was finally over. But life does not end with a verdict. Life goes on. In the months after the trial, our family slowly began to heal. Marielle started therapy. She had a lot to work through. The trauma of her relationship with Preston, the shame of her past, the guilt of pushing us away. But slowly, week by week, she started to find her way back. She got a job at a local nonprofit organization that helped victims of fraud and manipulation. She used her own experience to connect with people who had been through similar situations. She became an advocate for others who had been targeted by predators like the Carmichaels. I cannot change what happened to me, she told me one day, but I can use it to help others. I can make sure no one else has to go through what I went through. I was so proud of her. My baby girl, who had been broken and lost, was becoming stronger than ever. Ezekiel and I also found peace. The constant fear and anxiety of the past year slowly faded. We started to enjoy life again. We took trips to see our sons and their families. We spent time with our grandchildren. We rediscovered the simple joys we had forgotten during the chaos. And Marielle came home for every holiday, every birthday, every Sunday dinner. She never missed an opportunity to be with her family. I wasted so many years running away from the people who loved me, she said one Thanksgiving, as we all sat around the table. I will never make that mistake again. 1 year after the trial, something unexpected happened. Gideon Carmichael came to visit. He had been in hiding since the trial, staying with friends in another state. The remaining Carmichael loyalists had threatened him too, but he had finally decided to start a new life. I am moving to California, he told us over coffee in our living room. I have a job offer from a nonprofit that fights corruption. They want me to use my knowledge of how wealthy families hide their crimes to help expose others. That sounds like important work, I said. It is, and it feels right. For the first time in my life, I am using what I know for good instead of evil. He looked at Marielle. I wanted to see you before I left, to make sure you are okay. Marielle smiled. It was a real smile, the kind I had not seen on her face in years. I am okay, Gideon. Better than okay, thanks to you. Thanks to your parents, Gideon corrected. They are the real heroes. They never gave up on you, even when you gave them every reason to. He turned to me and Ezekiel. What you did at that wedding, I have never seen anything like it. You walked into a den of wolves and you did not flinch. You fought for your daughter with everything you had. He shook his head in wonder. My parents never would have done that for me. They only cared about power and reputation. But you too. You showed me what real family looks like. I reached over and took his hand. You are part of our family now, Gideon. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, you will always have a place at our table. Gideon's eyes filled with tears. Thank you, Mrs. Marshall. That means more than you will ever know. Before Gideon left, he gave us something. A letter. I found this in my mother's safe when the authorities were going through her belongings, he explained. It is addressed to Marielle. I think she should read it. Marielle took the letter with trembling hands. She opened it slowly. As she read, her face changed. First confusion, then shock, then anger. What is it? I asked. What does it say? Marielle looked up at me with tears in her eyes. It is from Vivienne. She wrote it before the wedding, before everything fell apart. She started reading aloud. Dear Marielle, by the time you read this, your life will be in ruins. Your parents will have abandoned you. Your reputation will be destroyed. You will have nowhere to turn. And that is exactly what you deserve. You thought you could climb your way into our world. You thought you could marry our son and become one of us. But people like you do not belong in our world. You never did. We targeted you because you were ambitious, because you were desperate, because you were willing to do anything to escape your pathetic little life. We saw your weakness and we exploited it. Preston never loved you. He was doing his job, just like all the others before you. By now, everyone you know has seen the photographs. Everyone knows what you did in college. Your shame has been exposed for all to see. Your parents will disown you. Your friends will abandon you. You will have no one. And we will move on to the next target, the next victim, the next fool who thinks they can rise above their station. This is not personal, Marielle. This is just how the world works. The strong devour the weak, and you were always weak. Goodbye, dear. Enjoy your ruined life. Vivienne Carmichael. Marielle finished reading. Her hands were shaking. Tears were streaming down her face. But she was not crying from sadness. She was crying from rage. She planned everything, Marielle said. From the very beginning, she wanted to destroy me. She wanted to break me. She crumpled the letter in her fist. But she failed, because my parents did not abandon me. My family did not give up on me. They saved me. She looked at me, and Ezekiel with fierce determination in her eyes. I am not weak. I was never weak. I was just lost. But I found my way back, and nothing Vivienne Carmichael ever does can change that. I pulled my daughter into my arms and held her tight. You are the strongest person I know, Marielle, and I am so proud of you. I love you, Mama. I love you so much. I love you too, baby. Forever and always. 5 years have passed since that terrible wedding day. So much has changed, so much has healed. Marielle is now the director of the nonprofit where she started as a volunteer. She has helped hundreds of victims of fraud and manipulation rebuild their lives. She speaks at conferences around the country, sharing her story and inspiring others to fight back against predators. She also got married, really married this time, to a good man named Theodore who treats her with love and respect. They have 2 children now, a boy named Ezekiel Jr., after his grandfather, and a girl named Hope. When Marielle asked me why she chose the name Hope, she smiled and said, "Because that is what you gave me, Mama. When I had nothing left, when I thought my life was over, you gave me hope. You showed me that I could start again, that I could be happy." Ezekiel and I are older now, 72 and 75. Our bodies are slower, Our hair is grayer, but our hearts are full. We have 7 grandchildren now. We spend our days surrounded by family and love and laughter. The darkness of the Carmichael years feels like a distant memory. Hamilton Carmichael died in prison 2 years ago. Heart attack. Some said it was karma. Others said it was justice. I just said it was over. Vivienne is still in prison. She will be there for another 20 years. By the time she gets out, if she gets out, she will be an old woman with nothing left. Preston got out on parole last year. He tried to rebuild his life, but the scandal followed him everywhere. No one would hire him. No one would trust him. Last I heard, he was working at a car wash in another state, a shadow of the charming predator he used to be. And Gideon is thriving. His work exposing corruption has made him a hero in advocacy circles. He visits us every year, bringing stories of the lives he has helped save. He has become like a 4th child to us, part of our family. Last Sunday, we had a big family dinner. All of our children were there, all of our grandchildren. The house was noisy and chaotic and absolutely perfect. After dinner, Marielle pulled me aside. "Mama, can I ask you something?" "Of course, baby." "That day, the day of the wedding, when you did not know if I would even talk to you, when you knew I had pushed you away, why did you come? Why did you fight so hard for me?" I looked at my daughter, my beautiful, strong, resilient daughter, the child I had prayed for, the child I had almost lost. "Because you are my daughter," I said simply. "Because no matter what you did, no matter how far you ran, no matter how much you tried to push me away, you were always my baby girl." I took her hands in mine. Parents do not give up on their children, Marielle. Not real parents. Not parents who truly love their children. We fight. We wait. We pray. And we never ever stop believing that our children will find their way home. Marielle hugged me tight. "Thank you, Mama, for everything, for never giving up, for always believing in me. Thank you for coming home, baby. That is all I ever wanted." We stood there, holding each other, as the sounds of our family filled the house around us. Laughter, conversation, children playing, life happening. This is what family is. This is what love looks like. If you are watching this story, I want you to know something. Family is not about blood. It is not about DNA. It is about love. It is about showing up. It is about fighting for each other even when it is hard, even when it hurts, even when you have every reason to walk away. If someone in your family has pushed you away, do not give up on them. Do not stop loving them. Do not stop fighting for them. They may be lost. They may be confused. They may be making terrible choices, but they are still your family. And one day, when they find their way back, you want to be there waiting for them, with open arms, with forgiveness, with love. That is what family is. Thank you for watching until the end. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for listening to my story. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to this channel. Press that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Press the like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment telling me where you are watching from. I want to know who is here with me. I want to see how far this story travels. Until next time, take care of yourselves, love your families, never give up on the people you love, and always, always believe in the power of hope.